Hello and welcome to the Secretariat. You're watching the Global Capsule. The Global Peace Summit 2025 held in Sharm El Sheikh in Egypt was the main highlight of this week. The summit, of course, saw many world leaders coming at the summit. We've seen leaders from Italy, Germany. We've seen Keir Starmer being there, and of course, Pakistan PM Shahbaz Sharif, among many others. Now, peace pact brokered by US President Donald Trump is finally in place. Of course, there are many ifs and buts. We do not know finally if if it holds up. But as of now, things look much better from what it was a month ago. The peace pact signed by, of course, Donald Trump, Egyptian President Sisi, the Qatari Emir, and of course, Erdogan. Now we'll have to see how this pans out. Many confusions. Israel has already complained that the hostages, the bodies are not those of Israel. So we need to see how this really pans out. But at the same time, what is interesting to note is the invitation which came to PM Modi. He, of course, refused to be part of this summit. We've seen the External Affairs MOS representing India. Is it a missed opportunity or was it a calculated move? Sushma, how do you read this situation? What do you think there is some kind of a strategy behind this move?
Well, I think initially when we all heard that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has refused to go, I think there was a sense of disappointment because that this was going to be a historic meeting. After all, the Israel-Hamas conflict has been going on for so long, and there's been so much of death and destruction, and everyone is looking forward to peace finally. So it's quite a pivotal moment. But as things unfolded over there, I mean, it looked as if the Prime Minister had actually dodged a bullet, if you ask me, because the way in which the whole peace summit was structured, you had the US President standing, and of course you had a few speeches, but you had the rest of the leaders of many countries standing in the backdrop. It was not a very I should say, a very dignified way for the political leadership of very important countries to be standing over there. And in fact, you could see when President Trump was speaking, right at the back, you could see the Pakistan Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif.
And of course, Sharif said that this was like a huge moment, which it is, of course. Yeah. And he also once again batted for Trump's Nobel Prize nomination.
Exactly. But the thing is that all the people at the summit could have been seated, in a round table or something like that. This looked as if they were a kind of guard of honor for President Trump. And I think that also the fact that so much importance was given to the Pakistan president, to Shahbaz Sharif, I think that also was something that, we don't know what kind of importance would have been given to our Indian Prime Minister. And also...
but interestingly, Sushma, Trump also came up with the statement that Modi is his very good friend.
Yes.
I mean, when he was standing with Shahbaz Sharif.
Yes.
So that could have been a message to Shahbaz Sharif as well.
Yes.
And Modi too called him up and congratulated him on this deal.
Yeah. But I still feel that I think it was better that the Prime Minister didn't attend. As I said, first of all, I was not very impressed with the way in which the whole summit was structured as far as political leadership was concerned. Secondly, it would not have been possible for the Indian Prime Minister to actually manage his own meeting or otherwise with Shahbaz Sharif. And that is something, obviously, that we would like to do, that needs to be done in a very structured fashion. And, simply meeting him in that informal way was not something that the Prime Minister would have liked. And thirdly, as I said, we don't know what kind of hierarchy President Trump had thought of over there. And finally, I think what is something that you mentioned, that the whole peace pact, I think peace has descended, first of all. But at the same time, there are problems still in the fact that Hamas has not been able to provide the bodies of some of the hostages, and there are a lot of murmurings going on, and there could be a kind of a negative fallout from this summit. So I think it is just as well that Prime Minister Modi kept his distance. He congratulated
But at the
President
same time,
Trump.
India has come up with a statement
Yes.
that India will support this peace pact.
Exactly. Huh. I think that it was best that it was done in a remote way and provide support in a remote way rather than being physically present.
Let's look at our next topic. The Russian oil is becoming a point of controversy. Of course, Trump has been putting pressure on countries which have been buying Russian oil, including India, of course. But now we have seen UK Prime Minister Starmer sanctioning Russian oil majors, Lukoil and Rosneft. And also UK has said that the third countries which are sort of facilitating Russian oil sale will be under pressure.
Yes.
India has made it very clear that it is its internal policy, and India will not really take orders from any other country. But how do you see this situation panning out?
Well, it is, of course, a difficult situation. It has been for some time on this issue. India is still buying probably the maximum amount of oil from Russia as compared to other sources. At the same time, the total oil that we're buying from Russia has declined. We have earlier also diversified our sources, but we are increasing our purchases from other countries. So there is a slight decline in the volumes of oil that we're buying. However, the fact that the UK has sanctioned Rosneft, has sanctioned Lukoil, that is going to create problems for shipments, for cargoes coming from these areas, and there will be problems of shipments. But I think even those have been so far. All the issues of sanctions have been overcome. Now, regarding this constant barrage or harangue against India over why we buy Russian oil, I think, unfortunately, the more that President Trump does it and his aides do it, the more it is important for the Prime Minister, I mean, as a political issue, to ensure that we do not deviate from this path. I mean, if this whole issue had been done through diplomatic back channels, and India had been requested to, cut down on buying of Russian oil, it could have been done in a more low-key fashion. After all, India had agreed a few years ago to abide by the sanctions on Iran, and we stopped buying, oil from Iran as well as from Venezuela. So,
any price implication?
Yes, there is, of course, a price implication because, in fact, now the discounts on Russian oil are even more. But I think that as far as India is concerned, we can bear the cost of buying a little more expensive oil, and we are getting discounts from many other countries also. I think it is more right now a question of asserting our sovereignty, the fact that, we cannot be forced into changing the decisions we make. And if this whole thing is approached, as I said, in a more diplomatic fashion, I think India would be prepared to reduce, maybe not completely cut out. There's no question of not buying Russian oil at all, but perhaps reduce the quantity of Russian oil. But, we have to see how it goes and how far the US administration is prepared to go on this issue.
Coming to our third topic, the Sri Lankan Prime Minister's visit to New Delhi. Of course, Sri Lanka and India have always shared a very cordial relationship. India has supported Sri Lanka through thick and thin, and especially when the Rajapaksa government fell. I mean, it was in a kind of a chaos. India provided a lot of aid, food, medicine.
Fuel also.
Fuel, yes. So how do you see this sort of having a kind of a implication on the diplomatic relations, on trade, on economy?
I think this visit is an attempt to kind of reset ties with India because even though, as you pointed out, India had been supporting Sri Lanka in its time of crisis, there was some concern over the fact that Sri Lanka had come so close to China. And it had sought, China had invested in infrastructure projects, the famous port project, which ran into difficulties. So there is a lot of...
the debt issue came up.
The debt issue at the time that Sri Lanka wanted, this loan from the IMF. It was China which took a long time to give its consent to clear the loan, and not India. India immediately agreed. So I think Sri Lanka has understood that India is an all-weather friend. India is a friend for all times, and I think this visit is probably an attempt to kind of deepen the relationship, and also to try and enter into some kind of many agreements have been discussed, infrastructure, cultural, educational, to kind of ensure that they can benefit from India's economic growth and the learnings that they can get from tying up with the Indian economy. And Sri Lanka, of course, is now once again on an upward path. They had, as you talked about the Rajapaksa era, all the damage that had been done to a very flourishing economy. So I think both things, it's political and economic.
That's all we have for you this week. See you next week. Have a great Diwali.